Welcome to your weekly reading. Let's go ahead and get into it and see what is coming up for us. I'm not going to shuffle too much because I had a few. This is like take 2 or 3. First time my husband called, so I'd already shuffled and done a lot of things, and he called, but you know, that kind of thing happens. I guess it would be worse if he didn't call. Okay, so I'm cutting the deck in a different way because this deck is hard to shuffle. It kind of like clumps up because it's new, and I like to feel comfortable in the way I pull the cards. Okay, take that as a sign, get that one. And so our final card is, let's see. This one. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn them all over. First one is the High Priestess. The Wheel. Four of Cups. Princess of Pentacles. The Hierophant. Didn't we have the Hierophant in the center of the reading last week? I don't know, because I do so many readings I get confused, but I kind of feel like he was here or in the love reading. The Empress. Princess of Swords. Two of Pentacles. And then the final card is the Emperor. Okay, so give me a moment to look this over and tie everything together. Okay, so let's start with the first card, and it is the High Priestess. So this is spiritual energy, and I'm pretty sure I should probably watch my own readings so I can talk about them in the other readings, but I feel like last week we had the High Priestess in one reading and then the Hierophant in another, and now they're both here in the same reading. So I feel like there's a lot of spiritual energy around, and this means the guidance. You're being guided to whatever it is that's available to you right now. Opportunities. I mean, we have the Wheel right here, so this is pretty significant. This means that they don't want you dismissing the signs this week. Whether it's conversations that you overhear, a nagging feeling that just won't go away, bizarre dreams that you have. Last night I kept having dreams of being in elevators. To me, I always say, you know, in readings, elevators, stairs, that means higher levels of consciousness. So I feel like things like that, they want you paying attention to spiritual things because You're going to be able to apply this guidance to your everyday life. Seeing this next to the wheel, you know, another major arcana, this means that your life can change. And since it's a major arcana, this means significant changes. The wheel is kind of like a lucky streak. And it means that change is here for you. The change that you have been hoping for. But I kind of feel like it's not so easy, is what I'm getting. I feel like they're trying to get your attention spiritually. Like I said, watching the signs. Those who are paying attention, you're the one who's going to end up with this change here, whatever this represents for you. This is positive change. But I feel like they're kind of nudging you either like through your intuition, your feelings, your dreams, weird signs around you. They're guiding you to take action on something, or to be at the right place at the right time, or contact someone you've been meaning to contact. I feel like something's going on where you're not happy. Four of Cups. This is a card sometimes feeling like something's missing and you can't quite put your finger on it. You're just kind of, maybe you're not completely miserable with like the Five of Cups, but you're not happy. You feel incomplete and you're not noticing obviously the things that are right in front of you. And you feel like withdrawing from the world. So I feel like some of you may be in this energy of just kind of just bored with your life. You're just bored. But I feel like they're trying to snap you out of it because it's your time for change. The wheel is here. And all this spiritual energy, I feel like they're kind of throwing lots of signs at you to take action on something. Princess of Pentacles. So some of this, you know, I felt like, you know, they're trying to get your attention, and this is, you know, a page. Here they call it a princess. Some of this might be communication, that it's time for you to communicate somewhere where you're being guided, somewhere where you feel that you belong, because the Hierophant is right here, in the center of the reading. This is the heart of the reading, is spiritual energy and exactly where you feel at home. Some of this might be communication with this. So it might be the person you feel you belong with, the job you feel you belong with, communicating to make the lifestyle that you feel that you belong in. It's the Page of Pentacles, so it can be any of those things. In fact, this is communication. But this also is a card of like knowledge and studying. So I feel like they want you, and for some of you, yes, it may be if you're thinking of going to school and they're kind of nudging you in the direction of going back to school, maybe to get your PhD or something like that. Or maybe if you don't have a degree, to go and get a 4-year college degree. But for some other people, I feel like they're saying to examine the details of perhaps why you're unhappy. What's making you unhappy in your life. I see that there's, you know, a lot of abundance around you, because we have the Empress, and ironically we have the Emperor here. So I feel like some of you, like, you have a lot of things to be grateful for, but yet something's still missing. You're still unhappy. Examine your life very carefully in detail to see like what's missing and where is it that you feel that you belong. The Hierophant is here in the center of the reading. Like I said, it is the heart of the reading, and this is very spiritual energy. This is guidance. Like I said, this is kind of finding like your little place where you belong. And like I said, I feel like something perhaps has been happening with you for the past few years or past few months, where you just kind of been like settling. Four of Cups, you just kind of been settling for whatever is there. And you're really kind of feeling that emotionally right now, because that was the Suit of Water. You're feeling it emotionally, but now they're kind of trying to trigger you spiritually to kind of wake up and just go where you belong. Go where happiness awaits you. Like I said, all those signs are kind of pointing you in the right direction, so pay attention to what you are feeling. They're leading you towards abundance, because this is the Empress. I always call her the celebrity of the Tarot, because she has it all. And you know, we kind of see something kind of, you know, different here, because this is the energy of just kind of feeling bored and blah and incomplete, and this is just kind of having it all. So I feel like they're guiding you to have those things that you want, to be in that energy of the Empress, and you're being guided spiritually. And for some, I mean, for everyone, it's completely different things. It could be that you're being guided towards love. This is a card of marriage and children and success and good health and happiness and abundance, all those good things. That's why she's the celebrity of the tarot. But I kind of feel like some people are not quite there yet, but Spirit is taking care of that. Spirit is here twice in this reading. Then we have the Princess of Swords. There's two, they're lined up here. Princess of Pentacles, Princess of Swords, 2 pages. I feel like some of this is communication. Like perhaps you already know, perhaps you've been kind of thinking of doing something, contacting someone, communication. Maybe you're unhappy in your current situation and you've been thinking about just finally, calling that place where you want to work, or contacting a friend you've lost touch with, or contacting someone that you're interested in. Communication is here twice. This is a card of honesty. So I kind of feel like, I don't know, I kind of feel like for some of you, you have to kind of be honest with yourself that you're not happy. Her sword is up. And I don't know, I kind of feel like some of you need to kind of cut through all the nonsense, fears that you're having regarding where you already know where you belong. And there's like all these signs just kind of pushing you in the direction of something or someone. There's a need for you to be honest with yourself. For some other people, I feel like you need to be honest with other people. Perhaps where you kind of feel that you need to be, where you're being guided, does not really make sense to people around you. Maybe they don't agree with where you want to work, or what you want to study, or they don't agree with your choice of partner, or you feel that they won't agree. You kind of need to just be like blunt. This is the energy of just kind of being brutally honest. And then we have the 2 of Pentacles. So I'm looking at what's going down the center of the reading here. The Wheel, the Hierophant, and the 2 of Pentacles. I feel like this card is a choice. You may have to choose between 2 things, 2 people. I feel like this card came up in the last reading. I'm not sure. You may have to choose between 2 things, and you may have to kind of really be honest with someone. But I feel like you already know. Again, I keep saying the same thing over and over. We have the Hierophant here. I feel like you may have a couple of choices to make in life right now, and one choice may be the safe choice for you, maybe like what you feel is right, what logically feels right to you, and the other is the correct choice. This is where you're being guided to. This is exactly where you belong and where all the signs are pointing. So I feel like those of you that are really kind of tuned in, you will kind of see this, this lucky streak here, this change for the better. And then we have the Emperor. This is about, feeling in control of your life, of being the one in the driver's seat, and finally having stability, and having, being very well put together, because you have everything under wraps. You're very self-confident, and you're on top of things in your life. You are an authority figure. So I kind of feel like you have a choice to make here. Again, I feel like you have your choice. One choice may be safe, and the other choice may be kind of risky. And you may have to be really honest with yourself and kind of follow the signs. It may involve communicating with other people. But I kind of feel like they're telling you that you are in control of your own life, that you are the one in the driver's seat. And I feel like if you really are accepting this, then you're basically allowing yourself to be in this energy of the Empress, of having it all, and ironically being exactly where you belong. Or you can choose to settle, to be in this energy of the 4 of Cups, where you just kind of, you have lukewarm feelings about something, either your job or your love life or where you live. But this is just the energy of settling. But we do have a lot of energy of, having it all. The Empress, the Emperor, my goodness. I definitely see communication here. I feel like there's someone definitely that you need to speak to, or, all the signs are pointing you in the direction of that person. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the love reading. Okay, so let's get into the love reading. And again, this is for those who are single. I started doing this last week because I don't know, if I do them together, I start to get confused as far as, am I doing this for, Is this for singles or for couples? So now I'm going to transition into the reading for couples, but I'm going to start off with those who are single. Okay, I think I'll cut the deck the same way I did the weekly reading. I kind of like that. So let's get 9 cards. Okay, so I'm just kind of straighten up the cards a little bit. Okay, and the first one that we have is the Fool. Nine of Cups. Three of Wands. Five of Wands, which I know that we had this last week, and it was down here. Six of Wands, which I'm not sure we had, but I feel like we did. The Chariot. Seven of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles. And the Sun. So what a great way to end the love reading. We start the reading with a major arcana. Sorry, you can't quite see everything here. Let me just adjust. We start it with a major arcana and then we end it with a major arcana, but we do have 3 in this reading. We have the Fool, the Chariot, and the Sun. All very positive cards. And Victory right in the middle. Okay. So give me a moment to look this over and tie everything together. Okay, so we start off with the Fool, and I can't help thinking about the weekly reading and, you know, kind of the message that we had about having 2 choices and when it's safe and when it's kind of risky, but that's where your happiness lies. I'm kind of getting that feeling from this card. I feel like in order, for those of you who are single, that's who this reading is for. You're saying you have to move outside your comfort zone. If you want to find Mr. Right, if you want to find your next romantic partner or your life partner, They're saying it's not going to happen by just kind of playing it safe. I feel like for some of you, you may have to kind of date outside your comfort zone. Someone maybe that is just kind of completely different than you, because this card is all about taking a risk and just kind of following your heart. And this leads to a new beginning for you. For some of you, it may even kind of involve, this is a kind of younger energy. It may involve someone who is younger than you. So maybe you're used to dating older, kind of someone who's older than you. Like generally women, if I were single, I'd be looking for someone like in their 50s because I'm in my 40s. There's no way I'd want anything to do with anyone, under 40, like in his 30s, like, So maybe you're like that, and maybe they're saying that a younger person might bring you happiness. That might be your life partner. That might be your twin flame. But I feel like this involves taking a risk. And I feel like for some of you, it may not be easy. Now, over here, we have the Nine of Cups. So this is, the wish card, the fairy godmother card. This is what brings you happiness, just kind of pure happiness. And I would say, since this is a love reading, you're watching this, what will bring you happiness and probably what your ultimate wish is love. It may even kind of be a particular type of partner. Again, the Fool. You have to kind of take a risk. You may have to date someone that is not your type, or you may have to look somewhere where you normally wouldn't look. And again, this is just kind of following your heart. Like maybe you meet someone and you feel like, this person is, I don't know, there's something about them. Like maybe you're just drawn to someone and you don't even know why. Like you can't quite put your finger on why you're attracted or drawn to that person. But again, you just kind of, you follow your heart, and this leads to your wishes being granted. Like, this is the person you spend the rest of your life with. This is the person you marry, or this is the person that you belong with. And your wishes are granted. Here, if I can pick it up, we have the Three of Wands. So this is kind of like looking for an opportunity. Looking to see like what's coming up for you. Is there anything for me to look forward to? That's the way I always read this card. And I kind of feel like for those of you that are just kind of like standing there waiting, I can't help but say that, standing there kind of waiting to see, waiting for your ship to come in when it comes to romance. You could be standing there for a long time, especially if you're not kind of following the signs like we talked about in the weekly reading, and you're not going outside your comfort zone. You're not following your heart. Your heart is trying to tell you something. We know that this week. If you're not really taking action on that, you can be standing here for a little while, just kind of seeing like, what's coming up. I also feel like for some people, you're trying to plan your love life the way you plan, the way you plan your expenses and things. I feel like this is not going to work for you. Just kind of planning like, I had a friend who one time, well, we were friends a long time ago, but she said when she was 25, she wanted to be married and have children. I ran into her a few years ago, and she's, a lot older now, just like, I don't know, in her 30s or something, and not married and no children. So I feel like you're saying, like, don't kind of be planning your love life like that. That's what I'm getting from this card. Instead, just kind of be following your heart. Like, I feel like you will find the person that you're meant to be with by doing that, not by planning or thinking logically. Here, the Five of Wands. I know this card came up for us last week in the love reading, and this is, sometimes it's an opponent. It's someone you might be interested in someone. That may be, and I said this last week as well. You may be interested in someone that's already involved with someone, and it could be that it's lined up here with the Fool. That you still kind of take a risk and see, like, is this person interested in me as well? Especially if all the signs seem to be kind of piling up saying, yes, they are, communicate. Remember that we had 2 pages in the weekly reading. So I feel like this is, it could be someone that you kind of consider like a rival, but because the Fool, it's lined up with the Fool, I feel like you if you take a chance, this will lead to success, because you do have the victory card right next to it, and it is in the center of the reading. For other people, I kind of feel like this is just like an inner struggle, which is what I said last week. I feel like you may kind of be struggling when it comes to like your love life. I feel like for some of you, you have moments where you say, yes, you know, I really like, this is going to be the year that I'm probably going to meet someone. And then you start to think like, no, I don't want to do that again. I'd rather be on my own. I feel like someone kind of goes back and forth and back and forth. And yes, I do want someone. And no, I'd rather be alone. And I feel like they're saying you really, this year, you definitely have to pay attention to where you're being guided to. I feel like there's someone very specific that is on the horizon for you. And then we have victory. 6 of Wands. I can't help but to see what we have here. You know, the 9 of Cups, the victory card, and then the Ace of Pentacles over here. This is kind of a new beginning, and we do have 2 new beginnings in this reading. We have, you know, the Ace of Pentacles and the Fool. So I kind of feel like victory happens and your wishes are granted when you try something new. I feel like the old is not going to work for you. And I feel like for some of you, it may even kind of be like going back and forth to your ex. Especially, not for everyone, especially those exes that you have that have been disrespectful, who have cheated on you, who have pushed you around, which is not cool. They're saying like your success and your wishes, they lie elsewhere. Yeah, I feel like you have to, again, you have to try something new. Look for someone new, is what I'm trying to say. And then we have the Chariot. For some of you, I can't help, because this is, I don't always say this when I see the Chariot, but I feel like for some of you, like your next partner or your life partner, they don't share a zip code with you, or even a city, or maybe even a state or a country. Sometimes, you know, this card is associated with travel. And I don't know, I kind of feel like for some of you, like, that's why it's risky, and that's why it's new. Like, maybe you're not really into long distance relationships, but I don't know, I feel like for some of you, you may kind of meet someone on the internet. You know, the internet is known for a lot of games and things like that, people playing games with you, but I also feel like it's kind of there to help people come together that otherwise would not have met. Like, you know, if you don't kind of live around each other, how else would you meet? So I feel like for some of you, this involves like taking a risk because the person is at a distance. This is a long distance relationship. For others, I kind of feel, you know, again, it's just like taking chances and, you know, not going to the past and not turning to your exes. This leads to change. This is a card all about change and movement. And this is about you being very persistent. I mean, it's amazing how the Chariot is right next to the victory card. So I feel like for those of you that are watching, they're telling you that you are going to find that partner, and you have to be very extremely persistent and determined. That is the energy of this card. This means that you're not going to give up, even if you're kind of struggling with something here where you're thinking about things that happened in the past, or comparing, like I said, men to your exes. You have to be very persistent, and you have to decide to move forward with your love life. And then down here we have the 7 of Pentacles. And you know, this is a card of planning and kind of planting seeds. I did already kind of say up here with the 3 of Wands that I feel like they don't want you planning your love life like, you know, like you plan your bills, like how you're going to pay all your bills. But I do feel like this is about intentions. I feel like they want you to have certain intentions, honest intentions. I feel like they want me to emphasize honest intentions of, like, you know, what you want as far as love. Are you looking for just a date? Are you looking for a life partner? Like, what are you looking for? And I feel like you have to, you know, this is a card of planting seeds, and that's what he's doing here. He's looking at what he's planted, and I feel like you have to be planting something. If you're looking for love, you have to be planting something, which means that either you're communicating with the person that you're interested in, or you're looking or making yourself available I feel like that's what this card is trying to tell us. Now here is the Ace of Pentacles. So this is, you know, one of those new beginnings that have come up for us when we have two. Yeah, and I feel like for some of you, I can't help but see what's going on here. It kind of almost looks like a setting for a wedding. So you can see that. So, you know, this is a new beginning, and I feel like, you know, obviously they're talking about a new beginning in your love life. And, you know, we have it here next to Seven of Pentacles, which is all about planting seeds. So I feel like you have to start somewhere. You definitely have to start somewhere, knowing what you want. And this card in particular, it means that, you know, those things that you want to hold, like we see in the card, they come to you quickly. But I feel because it's next to the Seven of Pentacles, they come to you quickly when you know what you want. If you're kind of going back and forth, like I said, I'm like, I want to date. No, I don't. I do and I don't. You keep everything at a distance. So I feel like this is kind of like an unexpected gift from the universe. You know, like you finally meet, you know, someone new, or you're finally with the person that you are attracted to or drawn to. And then here, the Sun. Okay, so this is pretty significant in a love reading because it means happiness and strength. This is a, you know, a very fulfilling relationship. Of course, this is also marriage. So, you know, I feel like they're telling you new beginnings will lead you to happiness. And of course, to marriage, if that's what you're looking for, to children, to success. But I feel like the key word this week is new. Like, don't be looking towards the past. And I feel like you have to know what you want. Okay, so let me look at these cards, because sometimes I just kind of move on without really like seeing certain things. Let me just kind of look at them and see if anything else jumps out at me. Yeah, I kind of feel like here, I'm looking at what's going down the reading here. The Fool, which like I said, it could be someone who's different than you. It could be, you know, taking a risk. I feel like they're telling you this will pay off because we have victory, and then we have the Sun, which of course is success. So we have success here twice. And I also feel like, you know, the new beginning or someone different than you is probably, you know, your life partner, the Sun, which represents marriage. Let's see what else jumps out at me. What's going down the reading here? You know, the Three of Wands, which like I said, I felt like this just kind of waiting and kind of planning your love life very meticulously, which you can't do. As much as you want to, you can't. I feel like for some of you, you know, if you're doing that, you're going to be standing, like I said, you're going to be waiting for a little while. Or here, this is kind of taking action on what you already know is true for you. This is where you're being guided. And again, this kind of, it leads to exactly where you want to be. Which, like I said, is marriage or the relationship that you want, change, you know, with the Chariot. But I feel like they're kind of encouraging you to move in some way, like make the changes, make the phone call. Yeah. Look at what we have going on here. I just noticed that right now. We have a 5, a 6, and a 7 right here. And then we have another 7 over here. I kind of feel like this is a series of events like happening. Again, it's kind of like what I was saying about the Seven of Pentacles. It's like you can't quite like hope to find this like happy ending and just kind of grab the Sun. This is your next partner and be like, oh, you know, thank goodness I found him. It's not going to be that easy. I feel like it's a sequence of events, and it starts with you kind of perhaps getting over your fears, taking action, knowing what you want, and eventually this will lead you to where you need to be and where you belong. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to those who are in a relationship or married. Okay, so this reading is for those who are in a relationship or who are married, and it's the same cards. Now, for you, I kind of feel, I get a different feeling from the Fool. And, last week's love reading for those who are married or in a relationship, it was kind of intense, kind of bordering on the negative, and I kind of felt like, ouch, that was a painful reading to do. But again, when I did, I was working on the private readings, I realized why those cards needed to come up, because there were quite a few people that are going through things like that. So again, this reading is just kind of telling you something similar. It may be for the same group of people or for others. Those who are in a relationship, I feel like they're emphasizing new beginnings. Just like the single people, we have two new beginnings in this reading, the Fool and the Ace of Pentacles. I feel like you have to be more trusting of your partner. This is a younger energy, a joyful energy. I feel like your relationship may need more joy, more patience, more understanding. You may even kind of need more time together, more adventure. This is, the page is very kind of lighthearted, and I feel like something's going on here that's not lighthearted. We have the Five of Wands again, just like last week. And some of this might be kind of, bickering and arguments, and you love your partner, your egos may be clashing. You want different things. And I feel like, you may need to compromise this week. You may need to be trusting and maybe even kind of try something new as far as making the relationship work. I see here that you very much want things to work out with your partner, or of course, with your spouse. And what I'm drawn to is the way this individual is kind of sitting. And it looks kind of like a very stubborn way, like I'm not budging. And remember I had said that perhaps you need to compromise, because I see here that something's kind of going on as far as a struggle. I feel like this, you have the Victory card right afterwards, so it's not anything that can't be worked out. But I feel like somebody has to compromise. Both of you can't be sitting there like this, like I'm not budging. We're going to do things my way and that way or the highway. Someone has to finally say, okay, I give in. And I feel like, you want this marriage or relationship to work, and it's here. The Nine of Cups is here to tell you your wish will come true. You will have, the marriage or the relationship that you want. And then with the Sun, it cannot get any better than that. The Sun is telling you that this doesn't even matter. When the Sun comes up, it just kind of almost erases any challenging cards. But I feel like somebody has to compromise here. You can't keep saying I want this and I want this and I don't care what you want. This is what I want. I feel like if you do that, you might continue to stay in that energy of the Five of Wands. So this is your your wish being granted as far as a relationship or a marriage. Perhaps those of you that are dating, your wish is to have a marriage, and I see it here. I feel like there's a potential for you to marry the person that you're dating, but only if you're kind of compromising and really. I also feel like taking their needs into consideration. Don't be stubborn. Three of Wands. I feel like for some of you, with this card, I get that some of you are confused. Especially those who are dating and maybe you're kind of living together. You're confused, and yeah, you may not know exactly where you stand with this partner. You don't know if this is something serious, or when is the next step, or is there going to be a next step? And I feel like you're kind of looking. I feel like I sense confusion from this card. Just kind of seeing the cards that are around it. Yeah, I'm getting patience and understanding is kind of really kind of needed right now. Like I said, based on some of the readings that I've been doing for couples, I see that a lot of people are struggling. There's a lot of kind of breaking up, I need time apart, bickering. I feel like you really kind of need to examine things carefully and be really patient with your partner in order to see what's really going on. And then of course, I've already talked about it a bunch, but here it is, Five of Wands. And I kind of feel like this week, because of what's around it, last week we had a big red flag, perhaps a rival, but this week it kind of feels like just just kind of bickering, misunderstandings, and arguments. And like I said, I've seen this a lot in private readings. So again, I feel like you just have to be considerate of your partner. Don't be stubborn and kind of thinking it's going to be this way, it's going to be this way. Because I feel like you might be missing an opportunity, especially those of you that are, dating. This could be someone that you have a future with. And this could be, what you have been waiting for, your ultimate wish, but not if you're being stubborn. But I also feel like some of you need to kind of be a little bit, like I said, more patient, understanding, to avoid arguments like this. If you're thinking, we're not arguing, everything's fine, it could be because you're really being patient with them and they're being patient with you. I feel like you can avoid this energy by just being like really understanding. And victory right in the center of the reading. Yeah, I feel, because it's in the center of the reading, it's significant. I always say that what's right in the middle is really important, as well as the first card and the final card. I feel like for those of you that are really kind of willing to put in the time to work on your relationships, victory is on your side. You will succeed. Again, I've said it over and over, but not if you're going to be stubborn, not if you're just kind of set on this is the outcome that I want, or this is what I want, or this is what I want my partner to be. That's not going to work that way. But they're telling you that if you're willing to work on this here, whatever this conflict is for you, you will succeed in resolving your differences. Those of you who are struggling, and I do know that quite a few of you are. And then we have the Chariot. So, especially for those who are single, I feel like your relationship is going somewhere positive. It's lined up here with the Sun. So I feel like you're kind of waiting here, like, what's going on with my relationship with this person? Like, where is it going? Is it even serious? And here's a movement. It's moving. It's definitely moving, and it's a lot of movement. It's a major arcana. And then the Sun, which represents marriage and happiness and fulfillment. So I feel like you're not stuck. Those of you that you've been dating someone maybe for like 15 years, and you're kind of thinking, like, is he ever going to pop the question? Is this relationship ever going to become anything? I feel like it will. But it could be that someone's being stubborn and not really resolving some type of conflict. It could be keeping the other partner confused, or not quite willing to invest in the relationship. But I feel like your relationship is moving. For those of you who are married, same thing. Like, I feel like it's gonna keep going. The Chariot is all about positive movement because you're so determined to make things work. I think is kind of the key word here. Being, close to the Five of Wands. You will succeed. These two cards are all about success. This is a card of winning as well, because you're so patient and you're so persistent. And I feel like this is about what's going on here with the Five of Wands. The arguments, misunderstandings. And then, Seven of Pentacles. I feel like, you may need to really kind of examine your relationship very carefully. Again, I mean, it's lined up here with the Five of Wands, to see, like, why are these arguments happening? What can I do to make things better? How can I compromise? Perhaps this involves a conversation that you need to have, something that's been bothering you. Perhaps what's been bothering you is that you don't know what's going on with this relationship. You don't know if it's going anywhere, where it's going. I feel like if you kind of take action, those of you that just kind of like, you leave the relationship alone and you're just kind of like, I'm not going to open that can of worms because then they might leave. You're going to stay in this energy of like the Five of Wands and the Three of Wands, where you're just kind of like, misunderstandings, arguments, and just kind of like wondering like what's going to happen. I feel like things need to be resolved and talked out. You have the Ace of Pentacles, which is a new beginning. So they're telling you that you have something good. You have something positive. I'm just kind of seeing what's going on. I don't want to compare it too much to the reading for the singles. But I am getting the same thing, because this card, I always associate the Ace of Pentacles with like things suddenly like turning around for you, like being unexpected lucky, almost like the Wheel of Fortune. Except this is a minor arcana. It's an ace. But I feel like things will kind of turn around for you. And for some of you, you might kind of be surprised when you might see a lot of conflicts going on in your relationships. But I feel like, again, those who are willing to compromise, things will turn around for you as long as you're really kind of planting those seeds. And then, like I said, we end the reading with the Sun, which is, I feel like, one of the ultimate cards to get besides the Lovers when it comes to relationships, because of what it represents, everything positive. And just like in the tarot, where, you know, I'm sure you always hear that when the Sun comes up, it kind of erases all the challenging cards. We don't really have that many this week. We only really have the Five of Wands, which is really not really negative. It just means that there's misunderstandings and arguments. The sun will kind of erase those, you know, those energies. But I also feel like they're telling you that your relationship is strong, and whatever it is that you're going through, like, your relationship is there to stay. As long as you, like I said, you're being very persistent. I keep repeating myself, being very persistent and very understanding and willing to compromise, and really kind of seeing the relationship for what it is. Being lighthearted. Don't get weighed down by all your, you know, your problems and arguments. Like, bring some fun back into the relationship. Okay, everyone, this has been your weekly reading. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will speak to you again next week.